Everybody, welcome back to another fun and exciting geometry class. Today we are going to be talking about bisecting arcs, and we're actually going to do some more constructions. Been a while since we've done some constructions, so in your book, I know if you're in my class, we just took a test because this book is kind of divided out weird. But I know we're in the middle of chapter 3. We're coming to the end of chapter 3, but we just took a test. So most of the time when you take a test, you go to a new chapter, but in this book, you don't. So we are going to be still in chapter 3 on lesson 3.21, and that's on page 163. Page 163. We are going to bisect a given arc. Bisect a given arc. So in other words, they're going to give us an arc. They're going to say, here's your arc. Now you bisect it. Okay, so how do we cut an arc in half? If you go to page 163, this is listed as construction 9, and it says to bisect a given arc of a circle. And then down in the construction, it says, if you look right underneath that, it says use theorem 35. So let's look here at theorem 35. What does it say? A diameter, this is on page 137 if you want to flip back into your book. Theorem 35 says a diameter that is perpendicular to a chord bisects the chord and the arc subtended by the chord. Okay, so if we are given an arc, and let's look at this arc right here. Okay, so here's our given arc. What that theorem says is that if we put a chord, remember this is like a whole circle. There's your center. I just haven't drawn the whole rest of the circle right there, okay? But this is a circle, and I'm just taking part of the arc. So if I take and I draw my chord on here, so I just want to put that up there, and I'm going to draw my chord. All right, so there's my chord. Not perfect, but it's good enough. All right, so back to theorem number 35. It says if I bisect this chord, then I will also bisect this arc that it subtends. So that's what we want to do. I mean, I can come over here and I'll mark this as A and B. So those are points A and B. And I can put a point there. That might help you see it a little bit better. It's a little bit hard to put a point, but put a point here in these two corners. Okay, point there, point there. And now I want to bisect that. How do we bisect? Well, you get your compass out, and you are going to make sure that you put it past halfway on your line. It's got to go past halfway. If you go this way, it's not going to work. So you got to go past halfway. And then we lock it in. And remember, we want to do like a little X up here. And you could also do one down underneath of it too. You don't have to necessarily do that because you could use the center point because it's going to be a diameter. So you could use the center point as your center. But if you don't have a center point, then you would need to use that. All right. There we go. And one more right there. Okay. All right, so there's our little X. And again, if you don't have a center point, like if it's not part of a circle, then you would definitely have to put the one underneath of it so that you had another line to go to. And then you're just going to put your ruler on here. Kind of get this in the position it should be. It's pretty close. We'll go with that. Change the color here, make it look pretty. I'm not sure why that popped up. There we go. All right, get rid of that. There we go. So we have now bisected the arc. How did we bisect the arc? Now, it's not perfect, and you can see that I'm not going right through the center point. It's just my tools online here aren't the greatest. But when you do it, you should get it really close to that center point. It should go right through that center point. And I bisected that arc, and I bisected the line. Okay. The next thing that we want to do today is we are going to construct, this is lesson 3.22, the next lesson. Construct a line parallel to a given line through a given point. This is on page 164. So if you look down, I have line AB and I have point P. So here's what we want to do. We want to construct a line that's parallel to AB. And we want that line to go through point P. Okay, so we want the line to go right through point P. How are we going to do that? Well, the way that you do that is you first just want to construct what's called a transversal. We should know what a transversal is. So let's go ahead and put our ruler up there, straight edge, and we're just going to construct a transversal. It doesn't matter what your transversal looks like. I mean, you could go either side, either way. You could put a 90-degree if you want to. You can do really whatever you want right here with your transversal. Okay? Because what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up just copying the angle is basically what it's going to look like when we're done. Okay, so there's a line. I don't really like that. Let me move it just a little bit so we can get a little bit better line. All right, there we go. We'll go with that one. All right, so there's our transversal. Now what we want to do is we want to copy an angle. In other words, we want to take one of these angles down here and we want to copy that. Not sure where my transversal just went to, but there we go. All right, so now here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our compass and we are going to copy one of these angles. Let's do this angle. Why? I don't know. I just want to do this angle. So we'll go ahead and make our little arc here. Okay, so now you have to ask yourself, all right, which angle do I want to recreate? Well, remember when we talked about transversals, we want the opposite interior. Since this one's an interior that we made, we want to do the opposite interior. So we're going to do the one on the left side of the transversal now. So if you'll bring your compass over, and then we can make our arc right here. Remember, it's the opposite interior that we're looking for, okay? The opposite interior. All right, so there we go. We have our arc. We're not done with the construction of our angle yet, but we have our arc drawn on the opposite interior side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come and we're going to put our compass on this side. And we're going to measure this. So I'll unlock this and I'm going to measure this right here. Remember this right here? You have to measure this angle. Okay, so I want to measure that point right there. So now I'm going to come up over here and I'm going to put it on this point and I'm going to put a little arc right there. Now, if you notice, I have an X, and usually when we do constructions, when I get an X, that's a good thing. So here I have a point, my point P, and now I have another point, that's my X. And so if I take my straight edge and I come over here, let me get this lined up a little bit. And I kind of line up my X and my point right there. It's pretty close. We'll go with that. Might not be perfect, but again, my instruments aren't perfect that I'm dealing with. That's pretty close. See, I go through the X that I made, and then I finish off through point P, and then I have two parallel lines, and we could name that one whatever you want to name it. Okay, if you missed something, just kind of rewind it right there and watch it again, but that is the construction on creating a parallel line through a point. In other words, what we're doing here is we're just taking the angle and we're creating another angle from the point P that is the other opposite interior, and then just draw your line through it and you've got your other parallel line. Okay. All right, well, that's all I have for you for these two lessons. Hopefully you learned something. If you missed anything, make sure you go back, rewind that, watch it again so that you can know what to do there. All right, we'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.